Hello everyone, for OneWrestling.com. This is Bill Apter. Welcome to Face to Face, the Apter Chat. And as you know, you people are always saying, hey, whatever happened to this guy or that guy? Well, we have another one of those. Today we found somebody. Sir?
Bill.
Wait a minute. Well, I know you. That mask can't fool us. That's Glacier.
That's right.
Welcome to the Apter Chat. Oh, there you are. Welcome to the Apter Chat, Glacier.
Well, thank you, Bill. I had to take that thing off. It's only designed to be worn for a brief period of time.
Yes, I know that. And Glacier, of course, your real name is Ray Lloyd, and we're thrilled to have you here on the Apter Chat. So the last time I saw you was several years ago at a wrestling convention. So since we haven't talked online in a long time, let's catch up. When did you stop your active days wrestling in the business? And let's go on to what you're doing today as well.
Well, actually, I mean, I think, as long as I'm breathing and alive, I'll still be involved in the wrestling business somehow because I truly love it. But and so I still do appearances, pretty much all over. Occasionally, I can be coaxed into getting into the ring, usually in a tag team match these days, though.
Yes.
And actually, a little bit of a milestone. I'll reach a big milestone actually coming up here in a couple of months. I actually turned 50.
Wow.
On May 13th.
Well,
so
let's tell everybody we're recording this in late March 2014. So if they're watching this 20 years from now and you're still turning 50, boy, that's a great secret.
Yeah. So I feel like I'm holding up pretty good. I mean, most days are pain-free.
Mainly
due to DDP Yoga. If I don't give DDP Yoga a plug, Paige will hit me next time I see him.
Tell us. You go back a long way with DDP, back to the days in WCW.
Yeah.
Did you know that at that point that he was going to have this type of impact on the world of helping to change people's lives, like he did with Jake Roberts, Scott Hall, and so many other people through this DDP Yoga?
Well, I'll tell you what, there's Mark Merrow and I, we both live here in Orlando, and
Yes.
Mark and I get together on a regular basis. And of course, when me, him, and Paige get together, there's always, just comedy all the time. Mainly me and Mark making fun of Paige. But it's one thing that Mark and I always say is that whether you like Paige or not, don't ever bet against him.
Yeah.
And I remember back when he first started this about 10 years ago, I remember he sent me a VHS copy of the first workout he did.
I have that as well.
Yeah. And he called it the yoga for regular guys. And I don't even know if you have this one. This was like the original one that not many people have. This is the one where he was actually on the beach in California.
Yeah.
In the grass doing it, and the kids kept coming up behind him and making fun of him. But I'm really happy and proud for him. I mean, this thing is finally reaching a point to where it's getting the type of exposure that it deserves. And Paige is he's the perfect guy to be doing this because he genuinely does live, sleep, eat, and breathe the DDP yoga.
Oh, I know that. Now, what made you go into it?
Well, just like most of the other guys, all the old injuries that I was dealing with. And, I have bad knees. I've had a reconstructed right ankle, reconstructed right knee, arthritis in my hips and my knees and my shoulders. So, just to kind of try to be pain-free,
Other than all that, you feel great, huh?
Other than all that, I feel pretty good.
Tell us about highlight. Everybody wants to know what was the highlight of someone's career. So back in the WCW days, I remember when you debuted and what a big debut it was, etc. What was that one moment that sometimes when you're thinking about your career back in WCW, what is that one moment that comes back and you go like, oh, that was great?
You know what? As far as being in a match, of course, a lot of people that follow my career know that as much as, they always say that, sometimes you have your best battles against, your good friends. And, one of the Bash at the Beach 97 was, I think, the closest I ever came to having that perfect match in wrestling. So that goes down as my favorite match where Ernest Miller and I tag team against Mortis and Wrath, which was Candice and Brian Clark. And but as far as my favorite moment of all is one that not most people would know about, and I've talked about it a couple times, but I grew up in Brunswick, Georgia, and we would go to the Jacksonville Coliseum to watch Florida Championship Wrestling.
I photographed the matches there many times through the years.
And that building was an old, a lot of tradition in that building. It's torn down now, and they've got the new one there. But when we did Thunder one night, we actually were in the old Jacksonville Coliseum, and actually that night I was on the match that actually didn't even was right before we went live. I wrestled Prince IK, I believe. But going in
Right.
the ring, yeah, going in the ring, and doing my interest in that corner, and just it was just so surreal that looking in that one area where as a kid and a teenager I used to sit and watch wrestling. To me, it was just everything came full circle at that time. That was like my Madison Square Garden. It was
That's
like,
great.
I mean, yeah, I'd never expected that. I never expected to wrestle there. So when I did, it was just an amazing, feeling.
And if I remember correctly, the legendary Don Curtis promoted there for many, many, many years.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, and Bubba Douglas wrestled there on a regular basis. He was from there, wasn't he?
Yeah. I'll tell you what, there's a lot of great wrestling. I hate to see that building got torn down, but I was so thankful I had a chance to wrestle there before they did.
Who came up with the whole idea behind the character Glacier?
Of course, it was several people, but when I got hired and I was the first guy to come on board, Eric Bischoff actually contracted a special effects studio in Atlanta called AFX Studio.
Yes.
And so we would meet with the guy who headed that up, and we started with like 150 names. And so luckily I was able to have some part in that, and we whittled it away, and then finally settled on Glacier. So
That's
a
great.
long battle to get that.
And did you feel unusual about that character or secure? Because I know you're a trained wrestler, and here they were, of course, giving you a character to play as well. What was your initial reaction to that?
Well, I tell you what, this is a story that I tell a lot too. And when I was fortunate enough, I broke in '87. The early '90s, I went to UWFI in Japan to wrestle. And what was so special about that to me is the people they had brought in as kind of like goodwill ambassadors for that company. And at the time, it was Danny Hodge, Billy Robinson, and the legendary Luthez. And I got to really kind of know Danny and Billy a little bit, but I really connected with Lou. And he and I, became friends, and I really leaned on him and went to to him for advice on a lot of stuff in my career. And when I got the call to do this, and then Eric started telling us what he thought he saw this vision of what it would be, I'd become kind of like a trunks and boots type guy, because I was looking up to Luthez, and that was kind of his gimmick was just tights, trunks and boots. But so I called Lou and I told him everything about what they wanted me to do and everything, and I said, Lou, this just is not what I envision my big break being.
Right.
And he said, I'll never forget what he said. I mean, he gave me a lot of great advice, but the one thing that resonated with me, he said, Ray, he said, the wrestling business is never going to go back to being what you and I would like it to go back to. He said, and that's okay. Here's your opportunity. Go make your money.
That's great.
And it was like the Grand Poobah, like touching me on the head.
Well, the first time I went to Japan in the late 70s, I had not met Luthez, and we wound up as traveling partners together. And he said to me, this is your first time in Japan, isn't it? I said, yeah. He said, well, now you're a world traveler. And again, he was like the Grand Poobah there, because it was like, look at this, Luthez is naming me now a world traveler. And it was just, we became so close with Lou through the years and his family. Just having some technical issues here, as you fans can see with the earpiece here, but we're back.
Yeah, and that was, I consider that one of my the highlights of my career, was just getting to know Lou. And
he was a tremendous wrestler, and also a great human, great person.
And just a great ambassador for professional wrestling all the way around.
So let's move forward now. So you still wrestle once in a while on some of the independents. I know you do a lot of autograph signings.
Right.
And where can fans find you, by the way, if they want to connect with you on social media? Is there a way to do that?
Yeah, I'm on Facebook. My personal Facebook is just, facebook.com/Ray Lloyd and the number 126. And that's my late father's badge number. So that's always,
when you're saying his badge number, he's
a state trooper. He was a career Georgia state trooper. So I actually, when I had the Glacier armor made, and I didn't say anything about this for years, but if you go back and watch any of the videos, you'll see on the armor, actually, the one request I had when they were designing the armor was because my dad passed away 8 months before I signed my deal with WCW.
Oh, wow.
And he was my biggest fan.
I'm sure.
And, and it was, but it kind of seemed almost surreal. Like when I got the break, it was like almost like, wow, maybe you couldn't help me when he was here on this earth, but maybe he had a hand in it, after he passed. But on the chest plate of the armor, I had them embed the numbers 126.
Wow,
in the chest plate of my armor. So Ray Lloyd 126 Facebook.com Ray Lloyd 126. You can find me on my personal page. But I want to talk about another page in just a second.
Are you on Twitter at this point?
Yeah, I am Glacier.
I am Glacier. Okay, so we're going to, all you fans, write down below the box there, which we put in there, I am Glacier. You can follow him on Twitter. So let's go and move forward. I kind of teased something on my news report last week where you and I have been talking, and you mentioned that you become involved in something. It's just on the edge of this at this point. Yeah. And we don't know how much you can tell us or what's going on, but what's going on?
Well, I tell you what, Bill, this is something that's really exciting. And when I have exciting news, I knew the one person I could come to is you, because the buck stops there with you. So
I appreciate that.
I live in Orlando, Florida, and I've been down here for a long time, and I kind of planted my feet here, and this is where I want to retire and spend my later days here of my life and my career. But I actually work with a production company here called Elena Productions, and it's owned by an extremely successful businessman here in Orlando, actually very young, successful businessman named Nick Patel. And
what's this gentleman's name? Nick Patel.
Nick Patel, yeah, and he spells it N-I-K, not N-I-C-K.
I know you're very excited about this, and I have to ask you to slow down a little bit. You're so excited.
This is like every time I talk about it, I get excited. But we're producing some really good projects. We're actually working on a kind of competitive reality show, kind of like Shark Tank, called That's My Pitch. We're shooting the pilot for that here coming up shortly. But when I started getting to know Nick on a personal level, I found out he was a huge pro wrestling fan when he was growing up. And
really?
He actually was a pretty big fan of Glacier, which was kind of cool.
Even better.
Yeah, and so of course, one of my best friends in the whole world in wrestling and outside of wrestling is Luther Biggs. And
yes.
Luther was a guy that did when I did the Coach Buster thing briefly. He was my protege, and he came to me with an idea years ago. And he's from the Detroit area, and he had some Detroit investors that were interested in doing this, but they wanted to kind of do it up north. He wanted it to be here in Florida, and it was basically he came to me with the idea of like a fight league, which was basically something that was rooted in professional wrestling, but also sprinkled with like some MMA style action and maybe some other kind of combative sports. But it's mainly, a type of wrestling where we trim all the fat off, where you get the guys in the ring and cut the talking out, cut the backstage skits out, get in there and have two guys, short, intense matches where they really go at it and they butt heads.
Right.
I brought the idea to Nick. He loved it. He thought it was a great idea, but he said, "You know what, guys? Is there an audience for this?" And I said, "Well, you know what? Let me put the word out and let me show you. I think there is, because Luther and I have talked for a long time about the professional wrestling fans, and I talk to wrestling fans almost on a daily basis, like you do too, I'm sure. And I've asked him, I was like, what would you like to see? What are you hungry for? And I think wrestling fans are really looking for the next big thing. Really honestly, when I look back, the last really big thing was like the NWO. We never have had anything really since NWO that just turned the whole business on its ear. And I think the wrestling fans are looking for that. And I'm not trying to say that what.
So wait, you're saying that this product, the suggested product, would be a package of.
Right. It would be basically a stronger style of professional wrestling, more harder hitting. Cut all the fluff out of it. Two big guys get in there and just go head to head like two bulls and just bring wrestling back to when I watched it when I was younger, where guys got in there, guys like Harley Race, Stan Hansen, Dr. Death Steve Williams, one of my good friends and mentors here in Orlando, Ming or Haku.
Yeah, of course.
That type of style where guys get in there, the bigger guys get in there, and they bang on each other and they go head to head. And as a matter of fact, Haku, we met with him just recently, and he's even agreed to for the talent that we're going to be bringing in on some of this to actually train the wrestlers in some of the finer points of that stronger style. And no one really knows it better than him. So So we're really
so basically, what you'd like to do is that we were trying to get the word out. You're trying to get the word out here is for the fans to comment and say, this is something that I would support and this is something I'd like to see.
Right. If right now the working title was what our goal is to shoot a pilot episode and let the fans decide if this is something they want to see more of. We believe it is, and we feel that right now. And the one thing that we want to be able to show, our boss Nick Patel is that the timing couldn't be better for something like this. I'm sure that like Jeff Jarrett's been teasing a new project that he's going to be doing here at some point this year. Of
Sure.
course, WWE Network has just come out.
Oh, what a great, yeah.
Yeah, and what's the guy's name? Mark Burnett.
Yes.
Has recently teamed with Robert Rodriguez, the director, to bring Lucha Libre, to I think it's called El Rey, which is Robert Rodriguez's channel network. So I mean, there seems I've known I remember Paul Orndorff telling me years ago that the professional wrestling business seems to go in peaks and valleys.
Yeah.
And I really believe that we're getting to a point where we're really getting ready to hit a peak again.
Okay,
And,
so we invite you fans to leave a comment under the box here, or once again, give them a place they can write to you and let you know whether they're interested in a product like this.
You got it. Here's where I'd love for them to go, on Facebook, because here's what we want to do. We want to show Nick Patel, our boss, that there's a genuine interest for this. And fans that may be interested, just go to Florida Fight League, okay? And just Facebook.com, Florida Fight League. And that'll take you to a brand new page that I just put up a couple days ago.
Okay.
It only has a couple likes right now because I didn't tell anybody about it until I knew I was going to be here on your show. This is
Florida Fight League.
Florida Fight League. That's the working title for right now. And we just want people to leave some information like, what would you like to see as far as professional wrestling? What would you like to see? What would you like to see maybe less of, but more of? And we want to create a product that is tailor-made to suit what the fans are looking for and what they're hungry for. We think we have a really good idea for that.
We love it. There's lots of room. It's a terrific business, and there's lots of room for different genres of the business to open it up and see what it's like. All right.
And one last thing I want to say is that we've talked to a few people that we feel that are pretty heavy hitters in the industry. One of them is Seth Petrozelli, former UFC fighter, who just recently retired. The one that got knocked Kimbo Slice out in 14 seconds. And Seth has a gym here in Orlando. Seth has agreed to come on board to kind of give us a little bit of that audience from MMA and be a co-producer for the show, also be a commentator for some of the matches. So we're really excited about some of the people we've gotten connected to this.
It sounds great. So you will keep in touch with us here on the Apter Chat.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, Ray Lloyd, the former Glacier. Thank you for spending time here and letting us know about this possible new product coming up, and we wish you and everyone involved and Mr. Nick Patel, the best of luck with this. I'm looking forward to seeing more as this unravels.
Well, you know what, Bill, and the one thing that the reason why we want to call it Florida Fight League is because Florida's a destination. Who doesn't want to come to Florida? And if you're going to fight, why not fight in Florida?
Hey, it's hot and it's always nice and hot in Florida, so here's some hot Florida action. So it sounds really great. Ray Lloyd, thank you. And put your finger right by the camera over there, as we always do here, up with the finger there. We'll see you at the matches.